Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Picaudian.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We're thrilled that you are listening to our show. It's just me and Tony in the kitchen tonight.
Yes.
Rob literally showed a picture. He's like, just to prove, he's got like 30 amps that he's working on right now. So.
I saw him in the trash can. I don't know if you saw that picture.
I did. Yes, I did. Anyhow, so he sends his regards. He hates being here and hates not being here. So
yes, it's a constant struggle.
Yes, it is. So anyways, but that doesn't matter because we have a fantastic guest tonight. Guest, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Ellis, and I build basses.
And you own what?
I own L.E.H Guitars.
L.E.H Guitars.
Yes.
Or maybe as you out there have been pronouncing it, L.E.H Guitars. But it's not L.E.H Guitars. It's just L.E.H.
I don't think anybody else
L.E.H.
other than you were calling it that,
there's
Todd.
no dots in the thing.
Well,
so.
now there's dots. That's why I spelled it out that way.
Yeah, that is smart.
L.E.H.
Yes. So in the past, past couple of shows, I believe I've actually announced that you were going to be on. So that's what I said, but I can't go back and fix it. So it's burned into history now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways, where can people go see the things that you do to follow along?
Mostly I'm on Instagram or on my website. I don't do too many other things.
Gotcha.
So my Instagram is L.E.H Guitars or at L.E.H Guitars, and website's the same. I think I've got a YouTube channel, but I'm pretty much just busy making instruments.
It's hard to keep up with all that stuff.
Yeah, you better get some TikTok videos going while you still can.
Oh, I definitely have some of those, but yeah.
Are they shutting it down or something?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, the House voted.
Hallelujah. No, that I don't mean to say that.
It has to go through the Senate.
But kind of, yes. Anyways, all right. I think, you know what? I do mean it. I'm gonna soapbox just for a second.
Just for a second.
It bothers me not because it's a platform that people can do creative things. It's that most people aren't. And a lot of like sort of really bad things. You watch people pranking strangers and just being like, I don't care what this train full of people is going to do. I'm going to take a shower on the subway, or it's really weird. And that's obviously not everybody, but the fact that tells everybody, well, okay, whatever you want to do is fine. And you can't get in trouble in it. It doesn't matter if you like really adversely affect somebody else. It's not a crime, so you can't get in trouble for it. And if somebody somebody scares you in the aisle or squirts ketchup on you, it's like you can't retaliate without you being the attacker, and it's really messed up. Anyways. Shame on those people.
The views expressed by Todd do not necessarily represent those of the podcast.
Yes, but they do represent the views of Tony. I know that.
Because I had to.
Your hair's getting long, by the way.
I'm getting it cut on Friday. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, after the Danny
I'm also getting a
Warhol
haircut
show.
on Friday.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. It's
Fantastic.
pretty cool. Hair twins.
I'm just letting my hair grow. Like, I don't care.
I'd like to see that.
Yes, so would I. Anyhow, we're going to have a great time. We're going to talk about some really amazing builds that Ellis is making.
Yes.
His guitars, it's a good sign when the first time you run across somebody's post, even a single post, you're like, yep, that. I don't have to see any more. Let's get him on the show.
Thank you.
Is that what happened?
That is exactly what happened.
Wow.
I contacted him immediately. Yeah.
Nice.
So, all right. Without further, I did have an announcement.
What was it?
And it's great. I love getting the mail from our folks. And this one
letters
is from.
We got letters.
Yeah,
we got stacks and stacks of letters.
Okay, this is from Anthony Lathrop.
Ah, yes.
Great supporter of ours, been around, helping us out for a long time.
Absolutely.
He says, now, I think the reason I'm sharing this is also because it's actually really informative for a lot of people. It says, Dear Knobs, I think you should talk to T.A. Weber and or C.J. Hutton from Ted Weber Co., the speaker company.
Yep.
And I mentioned that Tony and I have talked about that. And Tony, you actually reached out to them. We probably need to do it again.
Yeah, well.
He says, I think they'd make great guests for the pod. We agree. We would love to have them on. The reason I thought about this, someone on the Guitar Knobs was talking about the voicing of Vox amps, and it prompted me to get in touch with CJ about my 212 speaker cab.
Mm-hmm.
He remembered 6 years ago, I wasn't happy with the combination of two Celestions I originally built the cab around. I wanted to add some of the Fender Blackface punchy clear low end. Usually, for most businesses, he recommends something much less expensive than I was originally asked about, and it did exactly what I wanted. Since making that change, I've been dissatisfied with the mid-highs and highs, so last week I emailed CJ to ask if an Alnico Blue Dog would go with the other Weber speaker I already had in the cab. He remembered the discussion from 6 years ago and asked if I was still using my self-built voice voxed amp and still playing the same kind of music. He described the and I think that's pretty cool, remembering a conversation from 6 years ago.
Yeah, really.
If
I could barely remember one from 6 minutes ago.
I know. He described the shortcoming of the Celestion I'd been using. Overall, it's pretty good, he says, but the mid-highs and highs can be a little muddy, which was exactly the thing I felt was lacking. He said the Blue Dog excels in that range, and the Weber I already have is strong in the areas the Blue Dog isn't, and told me exactly what coil and cone material and dope to order with my Blue Dog.
What? You can order dope from them?
Well, we know the dope is the black gooey stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So that's just so helpful for a DIY hobbyist. A 12-inch Alnico Blue Dog is just barely in my price range, but going through 7 different speakers looking for my sound isn't.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
When you live in the zone of, I know exactly what I want and I'm going to be picky about it, but I have a limited knowledge and a limited budget, Weber is invaluable.
Nice.
I thought that was a fantastic way to sum up his experience. And many of us have and or are going through that, at any point in time.
Well, that's a good combination. And as we've discussed before, I have a Dr. Z Best 212 cabinet. And that one
Let me tell you about the Dr. Z Best cabinet.
Z Best.
When I designed that cabinet,
that.
I thought of everything. Dr. Z is great.
Yes, we love Dr. Z. But anyhow, I bought the cabinet empty because the guy wanted to keep the creambacks that were in there, which is fine. But I already knew that I wanted to put a Celestion blue or gold, and I ended up going with the gold for a little more wattage handling. And then the other second speaker is a UK greenback that is the bass voiced greenback. So it has a little lower frequency range and a little different scoop. So I felt that by mixing those two together, I could get much as we discussed here. You have 2 different speakers that have very different characteristics.
Yeah.
That helps cover the full sound spectrum. And so I'm very pleased with the way mine sounds, and I'm imagining that his is about the same kind of sonic.
I think you're probably right. Ellis, do you toy around with speakers much?
I have. I've been making guitars for a little over 20 years, so I definitely went through I'm going to build an amp and a cabinet phase. But it's been a while. I think my favorite was pairing a Alnico with a ceramic, like you were saying, like 2 different kind of voices.
And that's absolutely, I think, one of the best ways. I mean, some people would argue, oh, no, you got to have, if you want true Vox sound, you have to have 2 Alnico blues.
2 blues, yeah.
And
those are the Jensen blues from back then, yeah?
No, those would be Celestions.
Oh, really?
Celestion, for the most part.
Okay, but Jensen was a prominent speaker in in the Voxes,
In the world of
aren't
Vox, no.
they? Why did I think that? I don't know why I thought that.
But-
I thought that for a long time. I guess I must have misread that somewhere.
Perhaps you should re-listen to our Vox episode.
I should do that.
You might learn a thing or two. But no, I think and having companies like Weber or warehouse guitar speakers, that aren't. I mean, the Celestians can be very expensive, especially the Alnicos. And if you have an opportunity to try some different ones, I'm very happy. Todd gifted me a Jensen Alnico 12, and it's a great sounding speaker. And those aren't terribly expensive, especially when it comes to the world of Alnicos. So
That one was.
well,
And it ended up being, not for me. But I mean, it was. It cost me a pretty penny, but it was worth it for you.
but it wasn't a $300 Alnico speaker either.
No.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, I just thought I'd share that. And
That's cool.
Yeah, we would love to get Weber on. That would be fantastic. So we will do an outreach and
We'll
try to
do
look
it
that
again.
up.
We'll do it again.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get on with the show. Tony,
What, Todd?
why don't you tell us what's going on in your music world this week?
Oh, is that the segment
Yes.
that we're in now? So, Music World this week. This is a great one. So Sunday night, my wife and I went to Natalie's, which is a real nice club here, to see the California Guitar Trio. Now, some of you maybe out there may be familiar with the California Guitar Trio, but in case you're not, they're an instrumental band, primarily playing acoustic instruments. And the first time that I saw the California Guitar Trio here in Columbus was at a Borders Bookstore Cafe.
Wow.
Which was just mind-blowing. And at that time, they had a little different lineup, but they
were
were...
Ross and Joey there? Or?
No.
Okay.
They were not. No. Nor was Chandler. But they do some really intricate arrangements of songs. A lot of classical guitar stuff, but they also do things like Bohemian Rhapsody.
Wow.
And that's been that has been very popular amongst their fans, and they added. Well, it's still a trio. One of the guys from Japan left the band, and they brought on board a guy from California, which is good since they're the California Guitar Trio.
Sure.
That plays a Chapman stick. Now, the Chapman stick is just a crazy. It's got two courses of strings. It's got kind of a bass side. It's got more in the tone of regular guitar side.
Yeah, that's weird.
And it's not. You don't strum it. You don't pick it. It's a tapping instrument.
Tap, tap, tap.
And the first time I ever saw someone play that was Tony Levin when he was playing for Peter Gabriel. And I was just like, what in the hell is that? It's because it's very strange, but it's a really cool instrument.
It's super cool. The first time I ever saw one, it literally blew my mind.
It is, and it's got. I don't know if he had like a synth pickup built into it, because some of the things that he was playing almost had a synthesizer kind of sound to it. But anyhow, long story even longer. There was a sold out show in the big hall, and everyone that was there really appreciated the music that they were playing. There were a couple of songs I could have probably done without, but very cool instruments and instrumentals, I should say. And I will go see them again.
Incredible.
California Guitar Trio.
Yeah, that's something. That stick there.
Well, the Chapman stick, yeah. There you go. That's what it looks like.
That is wild. Okay, well, so there's that.
That's my guitar week.
Yeah, I heard that they did have the international Chapman stick players get together in room 206 at at motels. I was just trying to think of something real small.
There's a surprising number of people that have become very proficient.
All 11 of them. Anyways, so that's
nice, Todd.
Yeah. Anyways,
do you want to insult any more of our listeners?
That's not my goal. I was just trying to be. That was a slow. That one, yeah. That's like one of those fireworks that never get off the ground. But you just go.
Maybe if you practiced a little.
All right, Ellis, what is going on in your music world this week?
I knew this question was coming. I'm trying to think of a good answer, but honestly, this week, I have been trying to find good music to work to.
Oh, that's
stuff that's not too distracting. Yeah, stuff that kind of keeps you going, doesn't get you distracted necessarily from the work.
What's some of your go-to music?
My all-time go-to is usually Talking Heads. It's got a good keep working pace to most of their songs, that's been my quest. I've been all over.
Okay, so my mind is going like all crazy business right now. And is there anybody that you landed on in that search that is an ample supplement?
This afternoon, I haven't listened to much Thundercat, but this afternoon, that's where I lived. I just was Thundercat all afternoon, which was pretty good.
Interesting.
I'm going to make a recommendation. There's a band in Columbus called the Valentinos.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They have a guitarist that looks surprisingly like our main host here.
I've heard they are very good.
Yes, they are. And they are on Spotify too.
They are on Spotify.
Perfect.
Yes.
But it's a tricky name to spell.
Yes.
Todd, can you spell that name?
VILLAINTANOS.
I almost got it right.
Like a villain.
It's not Villian.
Yeah.
It's Villain.
Valentinos.
Anyways, legit. That's some. I think you'll like it. I'm just saying.
Nice. Yeah. No, I'll put it in the roster.
Something else that I would recommend. I don't know if you know how far your music strays, but a show that I just bought tickets for. I'm beyond the moon excited. Moon. I may take a moon safari to Texas to go see Air. Oh, man. Yeah. I absolutely love that stuff. So, yeah.
Are you familiar with moon towers?
No.
So in Austin primarily, but probably throughout Texas, they have these towers that are constructed like you'd see kind of like a power tower.
A power tower?
High intensity line kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
Except at the top, there's a giant Fresnel lens, and it gathers the moonlight and focuses it down to the ground, and
That's amazing.
They're called moon towers.
I've not heard of that, and I've not seen them either.
Yeah. Look it up.
Yeah,
look it up.
Yeah.
But check out Air. Go to Moon Safari. Just put it in. If you haven't, have you ever heard of Air?
No, I don't think so.
The album debuted in '97.
Okay.
And it is fantastic. So,
all right.
And their the new visual thing they're doing on their tour is, never seen anybody do this. This is a completely unique way to actually do the show. It's fantastic. Anyway,
cool.
All right.
What about you, Todd?
Well, I got to kind of mess around with bass with my daughter.
Nice.
That was really fun. She was practicing for one of her school shows.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, Dad, check this out. I learned this whole thing. And I noticed that her, so she also plays tuba. And so there's a lot of travel. Her fingers have a lot of travel on the tuba.
Okay.
And, from like closed to open kind of thing, right?
Right.
Well, she was kind of playing the bass like a tuba a little bit. And I was like, hey, but that's a lot of time wasting and a lot of extra percussive stuff for like jazz.
Maybe you should get her a Chapman stick.
Oh yeah, perfect. So anyways, we kind of worked on like just better, like ease up, just like
more efficient playing
and softer, like just barely walk on the fingerboard when you're playing, the jazz bass.
Mm-hmm.
And so and then I was like, oh, here, I'll show you, blah blah. And then she's like, Dad, give me the bass back. So then I got mine, and I was like, hey, let's play. So,
yeah, 2 basses.
yeah, super fun.
The only thing more fun is Spinal Tap's Big Bottoms.
Yes. Well,
3 bass songs.
Something
3
to look
bass
forward
players.
to. But I really enjoyed actually playing my basses, and
Nice.
yeah, love it.
Excellent.
But first, how do we line up some pedals and stuff together, Tony?
Line them up?
Line
you
them
mean
up.
like in
You
a
line
straight
them up.
line?
Well,
or
in
on like a
straight
pedal
line
board.
and connect them.
Connecting pedals can be tricky, but not if you have Tour Gear Design patch cables.
That's correct.
I was waiting for you to say the
Well,
words.
I was waiting for you. We were being polite.
Yes, no. Well, you first. I
No, you.
insist.
I insist.
You first. Tour Gear Design patch cables are the bomb.
Yes.
Literally.
Highly efficient.
They're
cables.
flat. They're flat. They have little teeny tiny ends.
Yeah.
And I would gather a guess
Yeah.
that if you used Tour Gear Design patch cables on your pedal board, you could sneak an extra pedal or 2.
I think you definitely could.
They take up very little room,
And they got all kinds of lengths.
and they're very cost effective.
Yes, sir.
But you know what, Todd? You go to the website, tourgeardesigns.com, load up your shopping cart, and when you get to the checkout section, go to where it says coupon code, and this is a secret. Don't tell anybody else about this. Type in the guitar knobs, all one word. And you're going to save an extra 15%. That's 15%.
Yep.
Already great price things. These come to you quickly. They're based in Canada, but I can speak firsthand that it takes literally a couple of days and they are in your hands.
Indeed. They've got a very special flock of snow geese that deliver them like little babies. Thank you to Tour Gear Designs for sponsoring our 4 on the floor. Tony?
Let me get a little bit of this.
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
All right, Ellis of L.E.H Guitars, give us your 4 on the floor.
All right, I'm going to do a little different than the classic pedal board thing, but don't worry, I'm going to start with a pedal.
Okay.
Good place to start.
Yes.
I mean, let's start on the floor. My favorite thing on the floor is my Strobo Stomp tuner. Peterson. Yeah, ridiculously accurate, and I honestly I'm not a terrible tuner by ear, but I can't handle any deviation.
Yeah.
So the precision of the Strobo Stomp is my favorite.
Okay. Okay.
Also on the floor,
Yes.
a really, really clean cabinet.
Okay. So we're going the rig essentially. Your 4
rig.
must-have rig items that are touching the floor in some way.
Okay, they are touching the floor.
Yeah. Most of my job is making ridiculously clean, good sounding things and testing them in very clean, articulate, like no compromise situations, so I can tell if there's anything wrong with my work. So then, therefore, putting a fuzz pedal, no, it's too much. I can't.
So what is your cabinet of choice?
So my favorite cabinet is, I've got 2 favorites, but the one that I actually own and use all the time is a Gensler Magellan. And then a little up from the floor is the head, and I use a Magellan head as well.
Got
So
it.
it's got a modern sound and like a quote unquote vintage sound, but both of them can get very clean.
Is that a solid state amp or a?
It is.
Okay.
And it's ridiculously light, and I never thought we'd get to the spot in technology where I wouldn't mind not having at least one preamp tube. But I guess we're in the future now.
Yeah.
And it's
Welcome
not
to the
bad.
future.
It's
yes.
pretty good.
I remember speaking of the Valentinos earlier, when I locked in my bass player, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting a new bass rig," and I was like, "Oh, cool, right?"
Yeah.
And he comes in with a backpack and
Yep.
what looked like his car stereo, because for a certain age group there was a time when everybody carried their car stereos around in little purses, like Velcro,
Yeah,
Or the faceplate came
or the
off.
faceplate. Well, that was later.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Where's your amp?" And he says, "It's right here." And I'm like, "Oh, what are you doing, dude?" Because I'm like, "We play rock and roll. What are you doing?" And he pulls out a Mesa Boogie, tiny. I mean, it's like I don't
It's the
even know what
size of
size.
it's the size of a brick.
No, it's smaller than that.
Smaller than a
It's
brick.
Slimmer than that. Yes.
Well, I'll
it's-
say the Magellan's a little bigger than that, but
Yeah.
it's definitely fits in the gig bag, which is really nice.
Yeah, this absolutely fits in like a backpack, and and it's crazy loud.
Yeah.
It's a little too clean for my, I've always thought.
but you can dirty those up. I mean, that compare that to hauling around like an SVT rig.
Oh, I know.
And the 12 guys you have to hire to carry the
but
stuff
he's got
for
two
you.
cabinets, so I'm like, well, we're still hauling your stuff around. Anyways, what kind of speaker configuration do you prefer for your bass?
Honestly, I used to be very much a 210, but I got this slightly. So Jeff Gensler hooked me up with a custom, it was a one-off of 112 cab that he made, and I never thought I'd like a 112, but I'm really into it.
Oh, so, a 112, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of antithetical and or doesn't seem right for bass until you hear it. Whatever Gensler's doing, it's really good.
Well, I dig it. That's cool.
Yeah. His other cab that I really like is the bass array, and it's got a 112 with a bunch of little tiny, I think they're 3-inch speakers.
Whoa.
So it's kind of like,
Wow.
we were just talking about Weber. Like, remember Weber had that beam blocker for a 112 guitar cab?
Yeah.
Kind of like that. It just like those little tiny speakers in front of the beam of a 112. It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
Interesting.
Bananas. Who would have thunk?
Yeah.
All right.
Gensler.
So what else is you got two more things on the floor.
Oh no. That servo stomp. Oh, I counted my the cab
one
and
more,
the head.
One more.
Yes, one more.
One more.
Yeah. And I guess one more is if I'm actually just playing. I'm usually playing by myself these days. My Ableton Live interface is kind of my other my go-to thing that I just can't live without.
What is your go-to guitar? Because
an L.E.H.
interfaces. We're not going to take it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, then I would have to say if I'm not playing around with that, just for a drum sound, an MPC, just something to get me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Just
right.
A little something. Yeah.
Well, that's the first time that this has happened, and let me converse with the judges.
Oh no, I lost.
Is this a thing?
We
Judges
will allow it at
Judges
this
allow
time. Yes.
Thank you.
Judges have
Yes.
ruled.
I appreciate it.
Well, speaking of L.E.H guitars, I think we should start asking you a bunch of questions and just having a great conversation about the guitars that you make.
Awesome.
And it's interesting that you say guitars. Obviously, a bass guitar is a guitar.
Yes.
But most people specify that they make basses.
Yeah.
It's true. I'll be honest. I have been doing this for over 20 years, and I have made guitars in the past, and it took me a long time to find my name, like what name I wanted to make guitars under. I think before we were recording, I mentioned that I used to have the domain name HahnGuitars.com.
Yes.
Yeah, but I was young and foolish, and I let my domain registry lapse, and suddenly it was gone. So I had to figure out what on earth to call my instruments, and I don't remember what year that was, but it was in the mid to early 2000s. So, and I was still making some guitars at that point, mostly just one-offs. So it just made sense.
Were you always making basses?
I was making actual just electric guitars and basses.
Okay.
Until I decided to just stick with basses.
Gotcha.
So around 2017, 2018, 17, I think I just was like, nope, only basses.
Gotcha. Okay, this is a weird question. How much does the fact that bass and bass are both spelled the same, how much does that bother you?
Oh, I kind of like it.
Okay. It makes it so painful if you're like searching for anything.
I know. And you get the stupidest results, but I kind of like that too.
Okay.
Why do you hate fish so much?
Yes.
What I really like is on Instagram, if there is a fisherman who ends up getting sent my content, and how irritated they get with that.
I can understand that. I can understand that. Yeah. So you when you started out making your basses, like, how blindly did you go into this?
Oh, not too blindly.
Okay.
So, I guess, we're talking about the first instruments I made it, or like when I just decided to just do bass?
Pick anywhere you want to go.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll say when I decided to so for the longest, from probably around 2002, I think 2002 was probably when I made my first attempt at making an instrument, until maybe 2017 or so. I was mostly just doing one-offs, just like, oh, this will be fun. And working for at other guitar shops during the day and making their instruments. I started off in Chicago, mostly doing repairs, but helping a little bit on his builds. But my first job where I was actually making instruments was at L.E.H Guitars in New York City. Okay. And if your day job is making guitars, you just make some fun one-offs, after hours. Where was I?
Working at L.E.H Guitars in Chicago.
In New York.
Yeah, I guess I was doing one-offs, and then my whole point was that when I decided what do I really want to do if I'm going to do a repeatable instrument, what do I really love building the most? Basses. So that's when I came up with my first repeatable.
And you're predominantly a bass player yourself, so that kind of made sense, I imagine. Yes. I
mean, honestly, I started as a guitar player and just kind of shifted over to bass over the years.
Interesting.
Yeah. So one of the more interesting features on I think they're on all of your instruments are the slider EQs.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the first time I've ever seen that incorporated into a production bass. Tell us a little bit about that.
Honestly, I think even the guitar that I first tried to make that ultimately didn't end up working in 2002 had faders. Mm-hmm. I've just always been kind of drawn to them as I just think they look cool.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and the fact that you rear mount them and you just have these little channels that pop through. Yeah, it's a very cool added feature, I think. And is that it looks like some of them have 2 channels and some have 3 or 2 bands, and some have 3 bands, or am I looking at one that's like
nope. You got it right.
Okay, so
I'll either do a treble and bass boost or treble mid bass.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the active part of the circuit is on the powered by the faders or controlled by the faders, and then the more traditional kind of passive circuit, like the volume and the tone and stuff like that, that's on a knob, along with a bypass for the preamp, just in case your battery dies or something. But yeah.
Well, that's again a unique and very neat feature to have on. And
Thank
beyond
you.
that, I mean, it looks like your wood choices are just out of this world.
Yeah.
I mean, I've watched a couple of your videos where you're forming the veneer on the top to the little cutaways on the top side of that. That was and it's a beautiful way to do a lamination.
Tell us about that process, because it is kind of unique.
I mean, honestly, I think that a lot of people might do that in different ways. Basically, I use
Tony just sits on it for a week like Horton.
I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's face full, 100%.
my dad used to read me that book. What I do is I use a vacuum, basically like a vacuum bag. A lot of people use a vacuum bag in different ways for guitar making, but the difference between what my setup and the common setup is that it's all pulling downward as opposed to like a vacuum bag that's just shrinking in on itself. So its pressure is pulling downward on a platen board that has channels for the air to go just only down. So it's helping keeping not only is it helping take the bend of the top, but it's keeping the wood itself for the body flat, because when you introduce glue, which contains water, a lot of times things want to warp. So probably a lot of like folks who are maybe starting out and trying to make an instrument with a veneer top, the first thing you do is you buy a bag and you toss it in the bag and you hit the vacuum. And they're like, oh my goodness, this thing is shaped like a U now, or it's shaped like a bongo bass.
Yeah,
or something.
exactly. Yeah.
That happens a lot. So the way that I've combated that is by having the vacuum come from below and sucking everything downward.
Nice.
Very cool. Did you build that rig yourself, or does it come like?
I did. There's a company that made the bag and made the vacuum itself, but the little setup is mine.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned the woods, or actually, you know what? How much does that save an awful lot of time before we go into the woods and stuff? Does that? I imagine that does actually save quite a bit of time.
What saves a bit of time?
With the vacuuming versus like all of the clamps and everything?
Oh, honestly, I don't know if I'd be able to get a good arm bend with all
there's
the
no
clamps.
way. Yeah,
I guess you could, but like I tried it so many different ways over the years. But to like get a nice like rounded bend, where it's actually like kind of in the same way you'd have like a carved top be.
Right.
It's really tricky. I guess I could make a really precise clamping call, but then I think I would probably end up with gaps. So basically, I'm using the body itself as like a reverse clamping call. You know,
Right.
So it's just can't go wrong.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I guess, for lack of better terms, boutique or sometimes higher end basses are known for is insane wood use and like the craziest figuring and 6 different kinds of dyes all over burl and bird's eye and all kinds of nutty stuff. And sometimes you're looking like, who is this bass for?
Exactly.
Like, there's only like, how big of a funk band are you in that is going to be your bass? I don't know. That's the only thing that came to my mind. So,
I mean, I feel like some people could pull it off. I also, it depends on the player and their personality, right?
Yeah.
And some folks just want to play a white bass or a black bass, and that's honestly most people. But I don't have the personality to pull it off. My bass is blue. It depends. I also just tend to wear a black T-shirt. So
yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
For the ones that you are making that are way more, well, they're out. The woods are outlandish in a very tasteful way.
Thank you.
I think the difference is that a lot of times when you see some of these woods, everything on the bass is bonkers too.
Exactly.
It's like that always look just kind of like crazy to me. But you have some that are actually really, really tastefully done.
Thank you.
What are some of your favorite ones to do in that spirit?
Honestly, the thing I've been really enjoying a lot lately is just fun stains, like different kind of colors, and like maybe like a sandback, or maybe something where you're infusing the stain into the wood. And still keeping it simple, like not going everything crazy. So like if I do like a crazy or over the top, like I did one recently for the NAMM show where I did a ridiculous top, but just a plain maple fingerboard and like black hardware, nothing else.
There's one crazy one on here that we're just saying crazy ones just because we don't really have another word for it.
Outlandish ones.
Yeah, outlandish.
There you go.
It is. Now, I got to say, I'm typically not a big fan of that kind of a thing personally, but this one I was like, okay, there's something actually really cool about this, and it looks like, it looks like Tony. What does that look like?
Well, it's kind of
like a cross between
it's
space.
It's almost like a solar system.
It is.
And it's got
awesome.
I mean,
It's got that little bit of orange in there.
Yeah, that would be the sun.
Yeah, it's wild.
You can be whatever you want it to be, Todd.
I think that's part of it. Like I myself, like I said, just wear a black t-shirt and jeans almost every day. But so like I feel like if I know like, all right, this is cool, and it's not gonna be too crazy,
Yeah.
Like I feel like I can walk that line without going too overboard.
That's for very specific play, like playing very specific things. It's kind of, Tony's pointing at the weight of one of these. It's 8.87 pounds. That's a big instrument.
Yeah, I think that's
actually on the heavier side for one of mine.
That's crazy.
Because you're doing weight chambering. It looks like too, right?
Yeah, so I partially chamber everything. I chamber everything only towards the neck, so that the back end has got some weight to it to counterbalance the fact that I'm not chambering the neck.
Right.
Because that's silly. But so I weight reduce everything a little bit, and I also calculate the pounds per board feet of every body blank that I have, and I can multiply that by the cubic inches of my instruments, and then if someone has a specific weight target that they're looking for, I can hit it. But I'm usually trying to get between 8.5 to 8.75 as my sweet spot.
Yeah, I mean I think that's a great weight for a bass. I mean that's on the lighter side.
It's an actual bass, but it doesn't make it feel like it's an anchor. So it's a good in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had to chamber a double cut solid mahogany guitar to get it close to that.
Wow.
And I appreciate the chambering.
Yes.
So
and it adds a cool little like acoustic vibe to things too, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can definitely dig that. So you really have landed on a very familiar aesthetic for your builds. Is this pretty much what you like? Do you stick to? Are these to order, or do you make them and have just a few on hand, or how's that work?
So far, I have. So the only time backtracking. I started doing L.E.H full time. I think 2002. And since then, I've only been able to just try to keep up with orders. Lucky me.
Yeah,
but
great problem to have.
Yes, wonderful. It actually is. I am very lucky. But the instruments for the NAMM show were the first time I got to just make stuff for whatever I thought would be cool and fun to have for the show. Hoping in the future to get some stuff so that people can come to my shop and try things out, or I can maybe get some stuff on consignment in some stores. But yeah, right now I'm just trying to keep up a little bit.
That's super cool. I'm really bummed that we missed you at NAMM.
Me too. I was listening to an old podcast and I was like,
Yeah. Sometimes, there's a handful of things we're like, wait, how did we miss that?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just get focused, you get turned around, you get distracted. And,
you know what? Next year in Anaheim, right?
Yeah. Well, I would certainly like to be there again, but we'll if we are, we'll definitely say hello for sure.
Awesome.
So tell us about some of your choices for your actual equipment, your pickups and hardware and stuff, because you definitely have cultivated a palette of things to use, as opposed to maybe some boutique builders that are just like, it's kind of all over the place, but they're still theirs.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, given my time at Sadowski, which was about 16 years, I also kind of developed good working relationships and like good knowledge with certain companies, and realized who I like to work with. And so that's part of why my main hardware is from Hipshot, with the exception of the bridge. I guess it's just the tuners, but if I need to use any other bridge spacing besides the Godot's standard, I just only use Hipshot, and then Nordstrand is my go-to for pickups and for preamps.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with those on basses, especially.
No.
What is, when you're building, what is your favorite part that you look forward to? And don't say the end.
When the check comes in.
Yeah.
No. So that's tricky. There's a lot of really good parts. I think if we're just talking about, so I always break building into like before final assembly and then final assembly in my head, because that's also how the shop was organized at Sadowski. So most of my time at that shop was as what is it called? I guess they just called them builders, but like basically I was doing all the final assembly.
Got it.
And
I believe that's called final assembly.
Yeah, just final assembly. What's my title? Whatever. Base builder. So I was building bases. And when you're building a base as the person doing final assembly, the first time you get the strings on there, you then know that you're, you got the neck aligned correctly, and you put the bridge in the right spot, and like things are looking good. And then, you're starting to cut the nut a little bit after that and putting some string tension on it. And then you get to see like how the neck reacts to string tension, and is it going to be okay? So it's a series of, are you going to be okay? Is this going to work?
Well, at that point, it becomes a musical instrument. And up until that point, it's pieces of wood, and little wire, and pickups and hunks of metal. Exactly. And when you put it all together, that is truly a magic moment. I mean, I don't build that many guitars, but it's the same experience when it all comes together.
You're going to be a bass. We did it. So that's, I think, probably one of my favorite spots still. I guess then if I backtrack, because now I'm just like, grabbing chunks of wood and turning them into the shape of a bass. And similar is when, the top is glued onto the body blank and everything is shaped into the shape of the bass body, and the fingerboard is on the neck blank, and I fit the two together for the first time, and everything also lines up and everything is sitting well and looking good. Mm-hmm. That's the other side of my favorite things.
Well, do you have a favorite string that you like to use on your instruments?
I do. Again, kind of a little bit like, I feel like, I don't know if it's a chicken or egg thing. Like I like to work with Nordstrand and Hipshot because I like working with them, but they also make great things. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Labella. Okay. I like working with them. They make great strings.
Yeah.
So.
I've got a question about the headstock. That's a pretty unique headstock, which is
it's a divisive headstock.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where I was going to. So, the headstock shape is like, man, if you get that wrong, it doesn't matter how. This is my opinion only. Okay, you can look at a guitar and you say yes, and then you see the headstock and you say, right? Yep. It's like, I don't care how good it plays. I don't care. There's something about the headstock that it has to work.
But it's also like the signature of
absolutely. And if you don't have a signature, then it's like, oh, so it's a blank copy or something like that.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yours, because I gotta say, on paper, like it kind of it's like edging on the threshold of like, that doesn't work. But it looks really cool. So how did you get there?
I honestly, so for a bass, especially a 34-inch scale bass, the biggest problem with that whole thing, like a bolt-on 34, is that there's often some dead spots in certain locations, and that's just by virtue of the resonant frequency of the instrument, just sucking the sound out of that one particular note or different spots on the fingerboard. And there's a lot of ways to combat that, but one of them is to add mass to the headstock. like I'm sure you guys seen like people with a fender like putting a clamp or I forget what a fat finger on there.
Yeah, fat finger. I remember those.
Yeah. That's just to add mass. Another way to add mass is to get a ridiculously giant headstock. So I was just trying to design the biggest headstock I could think of that still looked cool.
Yeah, but it doesn't look out of proportion, which
no, it's
crazy.
Yeah. So that was the idea. That plus the fact that I use going back to the hip shots again. I use their ultralight tuners because they kind of act as like a clamp a little bit on the headstock because it's a top nut. But I also use a steel post, which adds more weight. I think the ultralights come with an aluminum or some sort of ultralight metal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I make my ultralights very heavy and clamp them on there, and that also helps to like add a lot of mass to the headstock.
That probably helps reduce any kind of sort of like resonant buzzing and stuff, though, too, I imagine.
I've never had problems with resonant buzzing, but the resonant frequency dead spot thing is honestly, like, you can play any of my basses and there might be like if you sustain a note for like a good 5 seconds, you might hear like, oh, this doesn't sustain as long. But for most bass players, you don't need that much time.
Is there any purpose, because you said it's a very divisive headstock, is there any purpose to like the underbelly cut that you have on
little soup on headstock? That's just to make it look cool. That's just like faders. Yeah. I created the shape and I was like, what if this is the shape. So like just that little swoop was like kind of the cherry on top for me after
the proper answer was yes, that is a patented tone shape that we developed over the course of 13 years.
It's a tone boomerang. It sends out to the audience. It comes right back to you.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I guess I'm semi-fascinated about it is that we've talked on our show several times about sometimes you'll see, I think it's maybe most prominent on like really, really, really cheap, crappy, like foreign, like import guitars and stuff, where it's like they make everything overly symmetric. Like the pick guards follow the body line exactly, or it just looks.
Or my least favorite, they're trying to, and it's never quite.
Oh yes,
yeah, exactly. And I think the indescribable attraction to like, why do we like the pick guard on a Flying V or on an Explorer? It's like, hey, this is falling. Oh no, that's just a straight line out of nowhere.
Yep.
Or the Les Paul specials that have the that dip into the pickup area, but not all the way. It's just it doesn't have this need to follow everything, and there's something that's super attractive about that, and it's always intrigued me. So I look at yours and I say, yeah, that doesn't make it's just there. It doesn't follow any line at all, and neither does that other bump. But it's great, and it looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly like the whole point of a lot of things, right? I feel like pick guards are just there to make the body look even cooler. Yeah. If you're just following the body, then you're not doing anything.
I wonder, and we've speculated on this just a little bit, but for the same reason that we like distorted sound, it isn't perfect. And when we do hear, like say you have a Moore distortion or something, and it's like there's something. It's like too. They didn't bother trying to get the sort of the unnatural subtleties in there. It's just it's a straight bzzz, but even in the human voice, it's never perfect. And
Except for mine.
except for yours, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I just think there's something very, very intriguing about that.
Well,
whole thing.
I think the headstock design is also kind of just a little nod to a kind of a squared off fender headstock shape. I mean, especially you can see it on the painted headstocks that you do. It definitely has just, you can say, oh yeah.
we have the authority on that headstock. We should ask him.
No, I mean, part of that line, that straight line that you're talking about, is on the original. Sorry, I'm looking away from the microphone because I'm looking at it because I have the first offset with that headstock design. The original had that line was parallel to the center line, and that little swoop between the headstock flat and then up to the fingerboard. That's really hard to do. So if you have a parallel or a line that's parallel to the center line, you can use a drum sander and gently edge it up there very easily.
Yeah.
There you go. That's our answer,
Yeah.
Tony.
The current ones have like a slight angle inward because that was a little too much. So my version 2 headstock is slightly smaller.
Got it. Well done on the headstock. That's the most we've ever talked about headstocks.
Yeah.
Honestly, people like I hear a lot about my headstock. My favorite was I think the second day at NAMM, I was just standing at my booth, and the first guy that came by just walked up and said he hated my headstock, and he walked away. He really shouted at me. He said, "I hate your headstock." And then
Did he really?
I think his friend said, "Yeah, he really did." And then his friend said, "But nice bases."
Oh my God.
Wow.
That's kind of rude.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. It was probably the funniest thing that happened to me all day.
Now, I have a similar love-hate relationship with Paul Reed Smith guitars. I've owned several over the years, but that headstock, every time, the pointy, it's like, this doesn't belong on this guitar.
Yeah.
And so I've sold every Paul Reed Smith that I've ever bought. And some of them were very nice instruments, but every time I looked down at that headstock, it would just say, yeah.
Yep.
So
yeah, no, I mean, I feel like the people who like the PRSs also like the headstock, so it's kind of like
maybe,
you get drawn to what you like, and maybe that's, I don't know how you.
As they say, there's a shoe for every foot.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Indeed. Well, so in your builds, if someone wants to go and commission I'm assuming, like you said, you're catching up on them, so they're made to order, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And what is the turnaround time for something like that?
Honestly, right now, I've been quoting about 10 months. But I just hired a part-time employee, so I'm hoping to catch up a little bit.
So 12 months.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Luckily, they already know what they're doing pretty much.
That's good.
That's good.
It's not going to be a long training process, which is excellent.
Are you doing anything different with truss rods, or using graphite at all? Or
I am using graphite. In the future, I might start experimenting with titanium, but like I said, 16 years at Sadowski, so I know what a maple neck with different fingerboards sound like with graphite in it. When I was starting my company, let's start with the known quantities before I start changing things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that's smart.
Use, graphite and compression rod, but I do put some slight back bow in the compression rod when I'm treating the fingerboard, so there is a little bit of a two-way thing that happens with it, but it's still just a vintage compression rod.
May I suggest lead?
But I'm trying to make lightweight basses that aren't neck heavy.
But nothing is stronger and stiffer.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You just pour it, melt it down, pour it right in that channel.
Yeah.
It'll hold forever.
Yeah.
Smart. You should start making
I'm a
basses, Todd.
chemist.
I think you should.
Yeah.
Or just focus on the necks.
Yes.
Just all lead necks.
So what is something that you've obviously made a lot of basses? What is something that you haven't done that you are looking maybe forward to doing?
That's a good one. Honestly, like the thing I'm looking forward to is this past year I finished my first 32-inch scale bass, which was kind of exciting because I spent years and years just making 34, so I was honestly a little scared. Like, do I know how to do this? I think I know how to do this. I can make basses. Of course, I can make one that's shorter. But I really loved how it turned out. I was very hesitant to do an actual 30, classic short scale or 30.5 or whatever folks like to term as short scale. And I wanted to find something that had a little bit of a voice similar to a 34 because that's really what I prefer to hear when I think of bass.
Right.
I love the way the 32 turned out super much. So I'm looking forward to exploring that further. And then, I've got a 24 fret model that I'm very excited about. That's a little bit of a different body shape. Just like exploring different things, expanding a little bit, maybe adding a sixth string.
That's what I was going to ask. Have you ever done anything with, like a bass six with a little shorter scale? And
honestly, I think if I'm doing a six string, I might start with 34 just because that's my known quantity, and then branch out. Like I know the high C at 34 scale maybe seems like it might be too. I understand why people usually do a slightly shorter scale, but I don't know. I probably will start with 34 and then try it on 32 and see what happens.
Nice.
Yeah.
As far as being a bass player, what are your bass influences?
I again, Talking Heads is the best working music, right? And Tina Weymouth just nails it every time.
Get yourself a Mustang bass.
I mean, she plays a lot of basses, but always sounds like her. Like,
that's true.
Yeah, like I love seeing like not old, but like whatever earlier footage of them like playing in New York City before they were very well known. Like she's just murdering it the entire time.
Yeah, she's sort an intense player.
She really is. She does a lot of work, but like never too much.
Yeah.
Just the right amount. Yeah.
Okay. So aside from her, if you were to build your sort of, chef's choice, you're going to build a bass guitar, who would you build it for?
Oh, gosh. That is a very hard question. I actually kind of recently sort of did.
Oh.
I built a bass for Tim LaFavor, and he let me kind of talk him into different wood choices that he wasn't really wanting to do or didn't know he wanted to do. I forget when, with less than a month ago. So like Tim LaFavor, for those who don't know, was on Bowie's last album, and they did a show here in Portland with the Organ Symphony, basically recreating his last album. And Tim, that was his first, debut of his L.E.H.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
That's super
So it's
cool.
kind of like, was like an out-of-body experience.
Wild.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what was there any other like weird special things that he required?
He really wanted to do a 70s like single coil vibe with the bass was kind of like the starting point, but then wanted to do some stuff with roasted woods, which I didn't feel it was going to be the best for his playing style, even though I know that he liked it a lot. I ended up talking him into doing an Okume body with a maple fingerboard. Okume is like a relative of mahogany, so it's got kind of a nice warm round sound that it adds like after the initial like hard attack of maple, which ended up being more perfect than I thought it would be when I heard him play.
Wow.
So it's kind of like, that's why I was very out of body. I was like, yes, this is what I envisioned. It's here. Yeah.
And the top, was it like a super figured thing or was it painted?
Oh, no. He just wanted a white bass. He just a white bass, black pickguard.
Oh, wow.
Like your 70s bass that you got, except white with black blocks, and yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that one on the site so as people can go check it out?
I should put it on my website. It's on my Instagram for sure.
Okay. All right. So there you go, people. You can go check that out. I think one of the last things that I'd like to ask, you did a really interesting little video about your inlays. What was the material in that? It was a laborious act.
Oh, was it just like a couple days ago? That is
it's like sort of a 70s.
Exactly. It was just black. So that material is I don't know how to pronounce it. Honestly, I just type it. I'm probably gonna say it wrong. Corian is what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, Corian. Yeah.
They make countertops out of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you could cook on your bass.
Don't do that.
No.
But you could. It'd be fine, probably.
Yeah.
But the trick is with an maple fingerboard. Like ebony is what people think. Oh, black, like ebony blocks, or ebony contaminates maple. Like it gets in. If you ever have a maple fingerboard, an ebony fingerboard on a maple neck, and you're sanding it, the little tiny fine dust that comes off of ebony gets right into the pores of maple, and then you get kind of a weird, just contaminated like dot look all over. Like kind of dirty, actually, is what it always ends up looking like.
Got it.
So back at Dudzik Guitars, we had someone asking for ebony because they didn't want to have a perloid block. And we used to work with an inlay artist there, Olson Inlay, who does a lot of stuff for PRS. And I asked them, I was like, what can we do? Because they wanted a jet black block, and they're talking about ebony, but I know for myself that would be a personal like nightmare zone. I could never make this instrument look right. And they're like, how about Corian? I'm like, okay. And it just turned out to be perfect because Corian sands almost white, and it doesn't sand with such fine particles that it gets into the maple. But if it does, it's just something you can't see.
Interesting.
Acrylic is another material that a lot of companies are using now. And that's I use a lot of acrylics in my shop, and it is pretty amazing how well those stand up.
Yeah, totally. Like I think all the perloid stuff I do is acrylic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So for people who are getting into bass, maybe they are looking to, they've started out with a, standard Squier P bass or something like that, and they are looking to level up. What are some things that you think that people should consider, maybe if they don't already, or you see a lot of missteps? What would be some guiding wisdom on selecting a higher end bass?
We're talking L.E.H higher end, or just a little bit above a Squier?
I'm saying just like you're going to get into something. Let's say it's L.E.H. Okay. I'm trying to make sure that.
Okay, we'll say boutique bass. All the players make great instruments, but yes.
Yes.
I guess it would be you. I would want to find just because you're trying to first figure out what you want, right? And you need a little guidance, kind of like we were talking about with Weber at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
The best companies should be able to talk you through it, right? Mm-hmm. You don't even know what you don't know, but that's okay because it should almost be like a learning experience. Honestly, like since I started my shop, it's been really awesome to get to talk directly to customers and talk them through, the different options. They're like, if they're not sure, like if we have a P in the neck, then we do this with a bridge, or if we have this in the neck and then this kind of tone wood combination, all that stuff is very important, and it helps to have a company that can explain it to you, or have a knowledgeable. If the company is like willing to talk you through things, I guess that's what I would say.
Yeah,
like find someone who's willing to have a conversation with you, because then at the end of the day, you're going to actually get hopefully what you want, as opposed to I don't know, nothing against any company that has a nice online infrastructure where you can just click through your options and say, I ordered it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're new to it, you want to be able to make sure you're making the right steps and have someone kind of hold your hand a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially with your first boutique base, first custom order.
Yeah. I think that's actually really good advice because a lot of times I mean, I remember being younger and going in, and if you're talking to people about like guitars or amps or stuff, and they just feel like, why are you wasting my time? Or like, how do you not know this? It's like there's an odd pressure to still say, okay, cool. All right, I'll take that. You know, it's very difficult to back out of a bad communication thing. And if you get lucky and you land with somebody who's like as excited as you are, you know, to get the bass, man, that's a match made in heaven.
I mean, first thing I was thinking when you said that is like, I've had so many conversations with people where I ask them what, you know, they've liked about their basses the best and what they haven't. Mm-hmm. And honestly, a lot of what they haven't is stuff that they kind of felt like I didn't know and I didn't get didn't like at me. Oh, it's my fault. I didn't ask the right questions. It's like, no, it's not your fault. It's you know, we all start from a place of not knowing until we know.
Right. That's totally.
Yeah.
What is?
The other thing I was going to say is that's honestly like, because I'm literally like building things from scratch all the way to the end. I'm putting so much time into things. It's really nice for me personally to know that I'm actually making you what you want.
Yeah.
So like now that I've come kind of full circle for like being 100% doing the manufacturing versus like doing final assembly or maybe shop manager, like I don't understand why every company isn't just like, oh my goodness, we spend so much time, we better make sure we put the time in to get you exactly what you want.
Yeah, for sure. The last thing I'll ask is, what is one of the, we talked about, you know, making the connection and finding out what you want. And oftentimes you really don't know what you don't know. What is one of the most common things that people don't consider or make the wrong choice on with basses?
I feel like the thing people often, I think even probably with guitar, honestly, is that you think you want something different because you didn't like something in the past, so you like go 180 with it. You know, like if you've always been drawn to maple fingerboards, like there's a reason. It's because there's like a quicker attack and that maybe goes better with your playing style. So like you always feel more comfortable playing something that reacts to your playing. So if your last instrument or guitar, bass, whatever was a rosewood, you're like, I didn't like that, so I'm going to try maple. But you don't like a quick response, you know. Like I think just going 180, I think is I didn't like that, but not diving into why.
Got it. Yeah, that's
or I'm going to try something new this time for my custom bass. It's going to take 10 months, and you know, no, don't do that. So I always talk people out of like, I'm just going to do something completely different that I never liked before. Why?
Yeah.
Well, that's great that you take the time to actually kind of dig in and see what their likes are, what their style is, and things like that. And you can make those suggestions. That's important, because a custom instrument should be just that, something that is custom to what that player wants. And you know, they may not know that they need certain things or certain types of woods or certain types of pickups and things. But, you know, if you can kind of steer them in that direction or the right direction, I think that's a great service.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it feels kind of cool, because then also I'm getting to kind of learn a little bit more. And so when I'm spending the hours here, like, all right, you know, this is for William. He's going to love it. or whoever, you know.
Go, William.
Yes. Yeah. Well, man, this has been really great talking to you about your craftsmanship and your basses and everything. It's very clear that you put an immense amount of time and effort and consideration and good vibes into these basses.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, we are going to wrap up with our final segment. of the day.
Yes.
And Tony, you want to go?
That's right, Todd. At this point of the show is a little game we play called Would You Rather?
A little flat. Yeah. You need a heavier headstock.
That's what it is. Yeah, I need a fat finger.
Yeah.
That'll take care of all this stuff. This week's Would You Rather is brought to us by Gregory Randall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Todd,
Yes.
just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water,
Uh-oh.
we have another squeaky bellows.
Oh, boy.
Would you rather? Now,
Okay.
For those who don't remember, the evil Professor Squeaky Bellows is still trying to destroy guitar music and bring about the revival of his favorite instrument, the accordion.
Yes.
Can't get enough accordion music.
Squeaky bellows, everybody.
As per usual, the professor has captured you and brought you to his secret lair where... Again. We just keep getting tossed back to his secret lair.
It's a video game. We're going to have to repeat this level.
Yes.
Yes, so his secret time machine has been rebuilt. You must go to one of the 2 musical events to come and cut the power so guitars can't be heard, showing the advantage of his beloved accordion and changing guitar music forever.
Oh, Gregory, you've outdone yourself.
Because as you know, aside from the banjo probably being the most obnoxious instrument, the accordion acoustically is pretty obnoxious too. And loud.
I guess so.
Yeah. Well, you should.
A good accordion's great. So's bagpipes, man.
Thank you, Bobby and a sissy.
Yeah.
So here are your 2 options. Number 1, July 25th, 1965, Newport Folk Festival. As Dylan is preparing to go electric, you find a hatchet in Pete Seeger's lunchbox and cut the power, and Dylan's set never happens.
A hatchet in his lunchbox?
That was a security device.
That's right.
These were tough times, the 60s.
I didn't know that.
Come on, man.
Okay.
Choice number 2. Monday, August 18th, 1969, Max Yasgur's farm at Woodstock. Jimi Hendrix is getting ready to play, and you destroy the power to the stage by cutting the cables already weakened by the rain. Hendrix never plays at Woodstock, and the crowd heads home.
Wow. Man, Gregory's got the history. He's got the technical background.
Yeah, that's right.
Jeez.
Which will you choose? And is your choice the one you believe will have the most impact on music history, helping the professor?
Yeah.
Or the least impact, not helping the professor?
Yes.
Which?
This is certainly Dr. Bellows' most...
Diabolical.
Exactly. I think this must be the one he has to do to get into like Spectre or something. Or Chaos.
Right, Chief.
Anyways, all right. Well, that was super, super fun. Let's see what's going on. Tony, why don't you start off and we'll check in with Ellis here.
Well, I will choose Newport Folk Festival. Dylan goes electric. Not.
Yeah.
I think grabbing the hatchet out of Pete Seeger's lunchbox, that would be very cool.
Yeah.
But I think that would have the most impact. And I'm going to help the evil professor.
Okay.
Because quite honestly, I'm getting tired of getting bonked on the head and waking up in his secret lair.
Yes.
Because
I got roofied.
Oh, you got roofied?
Yeah. That was weird.
Well, you just deal with the cards you're dealt.
Yeah.
Play the cards you're dealt. So that's what I'm going with.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the Newport Folk
Festival. I think the crowd
Festival.
isn't going to be that upset, actually.
Well, there was a 50-50 break in the crowd. I mean, a lot of the people were really upset at Newport Folk Festival when Dylan went electric. But if he never went electric, who knows?
We wouldn't have the band behind him.
Well, the band would not have been there.
Well, or maybe.
Well, they might have been there, but they would have saying, "We can't hear you."
All right, Ellis, how about yourself?
Oh, I'm definitely going to cut off Hendrix. No question.
Okay.
Yeah. One, I would never want to stop Bob from his Newport whatever electric debut.
Right.
But if I could live a life with less Hendrix inspired solos, maybe I'm on the producer side.
Okay. I think we have a folk libertine in hiding over here.
I think so. I think he might have a cravat.
Do you have a really excellent pine cone collection? Or-
I am in the Pacific Northwest right now.
I know.
He's in Portland, for God's sakes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I made a wind chime out of my TiVos.
I love it.
No.
Todd?
I'm actually going to do the same thing. I know that is borderline sacrilege as a rock and roll guitar player, but that's not my thing. I don't know what else to say, and I don't love the Strat, so I can't.
Well, Dylan played a Strat too at Newport.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know.
He strummed it a little bit more.
I think he would have found a way somehow. I'm not trying to squash Hendrix, but of the two, I think, why not? Why not?
So you want to help the evil professor?
I don't have any choice. I can't. This roofie's having a long-term effect on my brain.
And other parts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
guys, do you? Can I ask you a would you rather?
of course.
Sure.
Whoa, we got a twofer.
Oh,
You can cut
wow.
it if you want, but I was just I scribbled some notes here. I was thinking as we were talking, would you rather find again the one piece of gear that got away, or would you rather find the one piece of gear you've been questing for?
Ooh, gosh, that's a great. Would you rather?
Wow.
Holy mackerel! Yeah, I think we need to contract you on the side. Wow. Okay. Oof. We got to think about that.
Todd, do you want to go first?
You lead us off, because I have a feeling you know what that question is.
I will say the one piece of gear that got away was I was offered the opportunity to buy a Sadowski SA200, and I was a fool and said, that's too expensive. What a dum-dum.
Wow.
Well, you know.
Is that something you can ultimately get?
There was a limited run of I forget how many, and I was offered it at cost.
Wow.
Oh, my
What
God.
Well,
Yeah.
It was, but you're always smarter as you get older.
Yes. With age comes wisdom.
Yes.
Tony.
I, too, will go for the one that got away.
Okay.
And this would have been, it's actually the first real guitar that I ever bought. It was a 66 Fender Jaguar that I got up in, this was in the 80s when I got it. And it was at a time where you could buy Jaguars for next to nothing. This one was like absolutely mint condition, original hard shell case. I got it for $175.
Oh my gosh.
And I used that one primarily, through most of the 80s. And then by the end of the 80s, I had just become, disillusioned with the music world and stuff. So I sold it to a guy. Yeah, and I think I sold it for like $300, and I thought I was doing pretty good. And but it was a 66 Jag, and I would love to have that guitar back, if for nothing else, just to see the things that I did to it, if it was still in one piece and still playable. But it was a cool guitar, and I mean it wasn't mint condition by the time I was done with it, of course, but it was the 80s after all.
Wow. Golly, this is because you can't really consider like, oh, I'd want so and so's guitar like after they got off the stage or something like that. That doesn't count.
No, it
This
has to be
is
something you
like-
used to have. Yeah.
Something you.
Or
yeah.
I guess it's something you've been questing after. It's like it's a.
Yeah, the questy part.
Yeah, like that Epiphone Dave Grohl that you've been
Oh, God.
questing after.
No. I think I don't have to think about this very hard. I kick myself for selling the my 80s Explorer, Gibson
knew it.
Explorer, white on white, aged out so beautifully in the big pink plush case.
Yep.
That was
a bad move. I would agree with you.
yeah.
Sorry.
That was a dumb thing I did.
You should have come over to my table and said, "Should I do this?" And I would have said, "Are you crazy?"
Yeah, it was stupid. Anyways, I would love to have that back. I don't know how I get. Maybe who knows? Strange things happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well, if it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
We just put it out there in the universe, so.
I'm putting it out there in the universe.
Yep.
Officially.
Yeah, I got your guitar.
Yeah.
That'll be $12 million.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's a great question.
Well, thank you. That was a bonus, would you rather?
Yeah.
Well
Sure.
played. Well played.
I think that we might be able to spin that off in a couple ways in the future.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You could just do a segment, The Gear That Got Away.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this. Okay, man. Well, no, I mean Tony, not Manuel. But Tony, go ahead.
You can call me Manuel.
Let's. We need to thank a few people.
That's right, Todd. At this point of the show, there is a very special group of people we love to thank. These are our executive producers. Now, an executive producer helps make this show possible. How do you become one? Real easy. Head over to patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Check out a couple different levels in which you can participate. Become a friend. Become a sponsor. Become a hero of the podcast.
Truly.
And each level comes with some very nice thank you gifts. And I do mean very nice. Real nice, Clark. And but as an executive producer, there's one thing more. Todd, what would that
have
be?
your name on that thing?
You get to have your name read on the thing. And that's what I'm going to do right now. So special thanks to these executive producers. Vader and Pedals, John Helverson, Rick Calhoun, Trevor Gunberg, Elad Mizrahi, Mike D, Richard Kendall, James White, Motander Guitars, Bill Gola Guitars, John Esterly from Rare Bzzz Effects, Anthony Lathrop, Stefan Lamb, Michael Senchek, Ken Sayers, Darren Gregory, Tom Brazen, Rusty Sneeden, Ralph Gottschalk from Wonderful Audio Technology.
Yeah.
What? Don Kloss, Gregory Randall, Brett Hogarth, Eric Hemmer, Stuart George, Michael Furman, James Bell, James Romer, Cameron Pampas, Trevor Ellenberg, Christopher Logan, and John Sebastian.
Yes.
But wait, Todd, there's more because there's a special group, the elite group of our executive producers. We call them our Grand Poobahs. These fine folks get a fez to wear upon their head whilst listening to the podcast.
Indeed.
And so without further ado, special thanks to these Grand Poobahs. Tommy Manasco, Ricardo Iguereda, David Kaminga, Brandon Wound Pickups, Hex Matos, Michio Murakishi, Bob Crouch, Jack Cadian, Sam Jett, Tyler K.C. Rhines, LSJ Music Company, John Williams, James Pennington, Steve Keys, Cody Foster, Science of Sound, Brian Robinson, Jonathan Jerusik from 12th Hour Devices, Corey Nigro, Michael Van Zant, Tim Nowak, Jonathan Daly, Martin Cliff, Sean S. David Poe, Billy Spitfire Unlimited, Congregation Gear Demos.
Where are you?
Paul Von Eppinger, Scott Sullivan, Great Lakes Guitar Pickups, Matt Hart, Enrico Fernando, Moon Guitars, Adam Johnson, Eric Edwards, David Tyndall, and Anthony Gemolero.
Indeed. Thank you all so very much. We truly appreciate you. If you have been thinking about, helping our show out and keeping us afloat, as it were, keeping the machine moving,
Yeah,
jump in. Water's fine.
it's safe.
Yes, and we will welcome you with open, wet arms.
We promise not to send Professor Squeaky Bellows over to your house.
Ellis, we need to say a giant thank you to you for spending your time with us.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
It was a tremendous victory for all, I think.
To victory.
Yes.
To the victory for all.
Victory!
Yes. And where can people go get your guitars?
Oh, just come find me at LEHguitars.com and at L.E.H Guitars on Instagram. Mostly just email me, Ellis at L.E.H Guitars.
Got it. Tony?
Yeah, we'll have a conversation. We'll figure it out.
Head over to pickguardian.com. Check out a couple of things that I have available for purchase online. But I do custom work. That's what I do. So shoot me an email. Let me know what you're trying to do, what you need, what kind of material you want.
Yeah, if you need to get your guitar to have some personality, you need a pickup, man. A pickup guard.
Or would you rather have a pick guard?
You need a pick guard, man.
Thanks for that outstanding marketing effort, Todd. Yes. While I don't have pickups
I'm on my
available.
last legs right now. I've had a long day.
Pickguardian.com. We'll talk.
Great. You can shoot me an email, todd@theguitarknobs.com. Better yet, send me a DM on Instagram. I spend a lot of time there, as most people know, and would love to hear from you. And if you would like to send us your Would You Rather, we had two. We had a bonus one.
Double.
We would love to share your Would You Rather on air. So go ahead and do that. And also, when you're driving around and you're like, man, I need some good music. Listen to the Valentinos, for Pete's sakes.
Yes.
Good old rock and roll,
Yeah.
All right.
Good for while you're working, I hear.
Yes, that's what I'm told. All right, everybody. It's been fun. Have a fantastic Guitar Week and subscribe. If you crossed like Steve Buscemi and Willem Dafoe.
Hey, hello.
This is Belly Scratchers Anonymous. Are
you having a crisis?
I just want to say, hi, I'm Ellis from L.E.H.
Okay,
all right, yeah,
go
we'll
ahead.
do that.
We'll do a little clapperoo here. Let's get on to one of the favorite shows.
Parts
Of the favorite show. Yes, the favorite parts of the show. Yeah, he's got like Willem Dafoe's mouth and...
Hi, I'm Ellis from L.E.H.
Yeah, that was a little dry. We'll try that. We were like, oh, it's a... No, it was good. It was good. Seriously.
We have some ointment you can rub on that will
gosh.
take care of that.
That's what you're going to intro our guest with?
Ointment.
Gee, many Christmas. At least take him out for a fish dinner and make him pay for it first.
Yeah.
I know he's a bad guy, but he's the good guy.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
What?
Oh, my
can't
God.
What's
remember
his
that.
name?
Hi, my name is Ellis from L.E.H.
Okay, and then you should maybe add, and I build basses. Yes.
I build badass
I build
bases.
custom basses. However you want to say that.
Should I say I build bad? I thought we weren't supposed to swear.
Actually, no. You know what? His eyes are a little. It's actually his eyes would be like a cross between Gary Busey and Steve Buscemi.
What do you got?
Ellis, are you trying to find the exit yet, or?
Hi, my name is Ellis, and I build basses with faders.
See, now that makes me think that you're actually, or no, Hank
was the
bald guy. Yeah. I have a computer. I can't.
Just look it up.
No, I can't. That's cheating. I'll let it come to me, and I'll blurt it out in the middle of the show.
Okay.
Great.
Yes.
Take 5. Hi, my name is Ellis, and I build basses, electric basses.
Betty, I thought we were friends.
Okay.
He's like, what the hell? It was going so well, and then you guys just did that.
Real quick, have you heard my dog walking around? Is that
your band?
my dog walking around? Yeah. It's the name of my band. It's actually a cover project.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything.
It's ultra lo-fi math rock.
Yes.
Right.
Whatever you want to use is fine. I'm sure it'd be great. You can also use the original.
We'll use all of them, actually. And away we go.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.